A blessing. The sun brings forth the beginning. The moon holds it in darkness. As above, so below. For there is no greater magic in all the world than that of people joined together in love. Good morning, everyone, on this 6th day of September, in the midst of Labor Day weekend 2020 hashtag What Happened to August, and where, once again, we do indeed gather in love. I am Mary Jean Taylor, and may I say that while we may long to be in the pews of our beloved North Chapel, do trust that this time places us under the collective roof of our community, for which I feel most grateful. From wherever you have come, I thank you for being here. You are the reason this time is sacred. There are things to know today. You have a week remaining to order your fall bulbs, the purchase of which support our North Chapel, an opportunity to add beauty to our world twice. That's 2 for the price of 1. A question for you. During these days of challenge, where can we find a good way to safely connect with others? Hint, covenant groups. If you have been part of a covenant group in the past, I probably need say no more. But if you have not and are curious, be sure to join us for next week's service to learn more. Zoom community meetings continue today and tomorrow. Find the link to join in and more information about all kinds of good things at the church website. You never know what opportunities exist if you don't take a peek. Lastly, a note of gratitude to all. Thank you for continuing to take part, to care about and support our church, to keep your faith and hope alive, and to touch the world with your own brand of kindness wherever your journey takes you. As you look forward to hearing Leon's thoughts on being willing to try, I'll leave you with these words from Dorothy Day. People say, what is the sense of our small effort? They cannot see that we must lay one brick at a time, take one step at a time. A pebble cast into a pond causes ripples that spread in all directions. Each one of our thoughts, words, and deeds is like that. No one has a right to sit down and feel hopeless. There's too much work to do. Keep the faith, stay strong and well, and love to you and yours. Welcome in. Love Will Guide Us is our opening hymn.
Hello, my name is Laura Foley, and today I'd like to read you this poem about really claiming one's own life. It's called The Once Invisible Garden. How did I come to be this particular version of me and not some other, this morning of purple delphiniums blooming like royalty, destined to meet these 3 dogs, asleep at my feet and not others? This soft summer morning, sitting on her screened porch become ours. Our wind chime, singing of wind and time. Yellow-white digitalis, feeding bees and filling me, and more abundance to come. Basil, tomatoes, zucchini. What luck or fate, instinct or grace brought me here, in shade, beneath hidden stars? A soft summer morning, seeing with my whole being, love made visible. Thank you.
Present. Milkweed seed cartwheels across the surface. A loon dives, soundlessly, making barely a swirl. Early morning mist rumples against the lee shore. I am here now, listening. This water continues, speaking quietly.
Good morning, and good Sunday. I hope that this new day finds you well. The title of this morning's reflection is willing to try. It's a bit personal. It's about the minor course corrections and the major breaking points that shape our lives and make us these particular versions of ourselves. I'd like to begin with a story. It was the strangest thing the other day. So I was looking out across the way, across this lovely green hayfield, and on the far side of the field, there was this house with a gravel driveway and an 8-foot fence beside it. On the far side of the fence, there was a community hall. It was like a grange, a place where people tend to gather for community events. And there's a lawn in front of the grange with a playground on it and picnic tables. It's a great family spot, and it had attracted two families, boisterous ones. It seemed to me I couldn't see them, but because of the fence that was there, but clearly the parents, or maybe the older kids, were throwing the little ones, the little kids, up into the air and catching them, and everybody was laughing and giggling and having a really good time. I could hear their laughter from quite a ways away. I couldn't really see them, but it sounded like fun. Every time I glanced over there, occasionally I saw one or another kid flying through the air, both fists stationed around their shoulders in great excitement, both sneaker feet flying towards the heavens, soles first. Every time I glanced over, it seemed, I saw some kid flying. I was trying to imagine the scene on the far side of the fence, and my imagination got the best of me. So I focused more tightly on what I'd only been glancing at and not really paying close attention to. And quickly I realized that both of these kids were absolutely consistent in their travels up into the air. Up, 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 up. It went on and on, so regular. I couldn't imagine the muscles on those ones that were throwing them into the air with such consistency. And then I realized that no one was throwing them. They were swinging on the swing set. I couldn't see it because of the fence and for the trees that surrounded it. So I had to make a minor course correction in how I was perceiving the world. It wasn't such a big deal. It actually takes longer to tell the story than it did to live it out. The fence created a mystery, and I like mysteries. In fact, I used to seek mystery. I used to go out kayaking very early in the morning, like 4 or 5 a.m. at daybreak. You put in the darkness and you push away from the shore, and then you paddle into the fog and into the mist with the barest light on the eastern horizon and the darkest mystery of the lakes unknown beneath the boat. And you can choose your mark if you want to. You can set your destination if you wish, but the light is ever changing and things seem to shift. So you have to make a lot of minor course corrections. Minor course corrections. It's a little bit weird to say that about kayaking, especially if you have a kayak like mine. It has a semi-flat bottom and a stable seat, but it doesn't hold its line very well. So you can pick your destination, and when you paddle right, you drift to the left. And you can maintain your destination, and when you paddle left, you're going to drift to the right. So you kind of tiny zigzag your way across the water, and you're almost never perfectly on target. Kayaking is constantly making minor course corrections, thousands of them. And that's under good conditions and when you're doing everything right. When there's a wind or if the water's choppy, you have to make major course corrections. It's very different from sailing. If you think like a sailor and you get into a kayak, it's going to be kind of frustrating. Sailors pick their point, their destination point, and then they set their sails. There are some minor course corrections to be sure, but for the most part, it's steady as she goes, For kayakers, it's different. You pick your destination point, but then it's a constant course correction kind of deal, even when conditions are very good. If you kayak, but you think like a sailor, you will be disappointed. You have to be careful with your mindset, or you'll end up cursing like a sailor. Now, there's something about being on the water, though, that makes you feel so free. I think that the freest I felt was in a kayak back a while ago, back in 2012. I don't know if I like the sound of that story, but I think it's true. So I had just been ordained in the most beautiful ceremony. It was the highlight of all my time in Minnesota. I was filled with hopefulness, filled with promise, and filled with faith, bright-sized faith. Life was also quite hard at that point. I had plans of getting married. I had highest hopes of raising a family. I was powerfully committed to that future, but it faded. The woman that I was engaged to could not return the love in the way that I could recognize, and I could see that she was unhappy. I didn't understand why, but I could feel it. I fell into a depression that was deep and a little bit scary. I'm not sure what brought me out of that, although I do have my suspicions. I tried to do the next right thing for a good long time, day after loving day. I asked for what I needed. I was good to myself. I reached out for help and I got it. I went to see this trauma therapist who I liked, and I sat down before him and started to describe my pain and my suffering. I had all of these caveats, and I gave all of these reasons, and I used all of these qualifiers, and I set up all of these conditions. I didn't know my therapist, but I was trying to win him over. And he interrupted me pretty early on, and he said, "Why don't we just begin with the presumption that I believe you?" That was a breaking point. Something in me broke open. One of many breaking points of that period in time. I'd lost hope for a marriage, and I'd lost hope for a family. My then fiance and I were planning on having a child, loved and longed for, but somewhat unexpected. But we suffered a miscarriage. That was an isolating experience because we both experienced the loss in different ways. I think that was part of what broke us up, in my opinion. For so long, I missed her terribly, and I was broken up inside. And now I deeply wish her well, and I have all along. I think she's happy, and I do pray that she is. I still connect with her mom from time to time, although so many years have gone by. Things were really hard back then. My heart was hurting. So much was broken. So I made a daily practice of focusing on my morning ritual. I would get up early at 5:15 and get ready and be out of the house pretty early. I would be among the first to walk into the coffee shop when it opened its doors at 6 a.m. I went for coffee religiously. It was like a secular sacrament, an inward oath and an outward promise designed to help me meet the challenge of each new day with some cream and a little sugar. My coffee was like an early morning prayer. Come to think of it, I got my kayak back in Minnesota. I got my gear there too, the life preserver, the bail pump, the paddle, a positive attitude. You need these things when you're on the water. It's hard to see what's happening in the Twin Cities now. For years, I had lived 7 miles away from where George Floyd was killed and 4 miles away from where Philandro Castile was killed 4 years earlier. Both lives tragically lost at the hands of the police. The last time I visited the Twin Cities was 2017. I saw some old congregants that I recognized. I saw one woman who immediately stood up from her chair behind the reception desk and came over and hugged me hard and tight. Without pausing, she held my hands and told me that her husband was in the hospital, as if not a day had passed and it had been 5 years. That's enough to give you some hope right there. Walking back to my car a little later, I ran into a man who I used to know, a lawyer, a talented one. We got to know each other through this 3-part series about independent thinking. We based our series on the jury's deliberation in a film by Sidney Lumet, a film called 12 Angry Men, 1957. Henry Fonda, Jack Klugman, Lee J. Cobb. It's a wonderful film. Good lawyers film. When I visited in 2017, the church had a great big sign hanging off the back of it. It was a Black Lives Matter sign, except that it really wasn't. It was an amended sign. It read, and I quote, "When Black lives matter, then truly all lives will matter. It was a sign that tried to reconcile two different sensibilities, the Black Lives Matter sensibility and the All Lives Matter sensibility. The sign probably resolved the internal argument that the church members may have been having on the inside of the church, but it did not contribute meaningfully to the public conversation on the outside of the church. It was a both and sign, but it didn't serve anyone very well, least of all the kids across the street. Now, the church that I'm talking about sits across the street from the Barack and Michelle Obama Service Learning School. It's a magnet school. Tons of dark-skinned kids attend that school. And from their second and third floor classroom windows, many of the kids saw at eye level a sign that read, "When Black Lives Matter, then truly all lives will matter." A sign that suggested to Black children in school that your life does not matter yet. Now, how can a well-meaning church send a message like that to a child? I'll tell you. By slowly losing its way and by not making the minor course corrections that life's journey requires of us. Now, I'm sure they made amends and they're wise people at that church. I don't mean to criticize. I just mean to show light or shed light on how important it is to make those minor course corrections. They can be quite painful. I'm making one right now, actually. You see, I was born in a predominantly Black neighborhood in New York, but I grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood in New Jersey. And in New Jersey, there were things about the world that we didn't talk about. And it's left me somewhat distant from my friends. In seminary, we learned that when mountains tremble and when the earth quakes, the fault lines run through our hearts. And I think that's true. We're certainly seeing it in our world today, these fault lines. But isn't it still possible to reach out across the divide and find something on the other side that's worth holding on to? I reached out to a friend recently who thinks differently than I do about the world, especially politically. I claimed no moral high ground, no righteousness, no unique authority. I respected him. I just wrote, "Hey friend, I want to ask you to do something with me, and it may be difficult. I want to talk about the sensitive issue of race and how it shows up in our world. I cannot ignore what I'm seeing, and I cannot ignore what I've experienced and how devastatingly hard it has been." The message went on for a while. I won't read it to you, but I was happy with it. It was imperfect, but you know what, so am I. It was the best that I could do at the time, and I can't ask myself for more. Not right now. Good enough is fine these days. It has to be. Good enough is all we've got. I was trying to be both gentle and fiercely wise. The Gospel of Matthew, chapter 10, verse 16, teaches us to be as wise as serpents and as gentle as doves. And that passage was my inspiration. That's what I was trying to do. In the midst of the deaths that I see, the deaths like the death of flowers of God's own heart, George and Philandra, Brianna, Tony, Trayvon and Martin, Michael and Tony, Abner and Amadou, Sean and Sandra, Tamir and Kenneth, and the list goes on. It goes on for a while. The names, the lives, and the collective impact on us, we who survived them. My God, it is so important to say their names, lest we go numb. And we may go numb anyway. Days after days after Jacob Blake had been shot 7 times by the Kenosha Police Department, his sister, Latetra Widman, made her feelings, or her lack of feelings, known to the world. She said, "This is nothing new. And this should be shockingly new, what's happening." She said, "I am not sad. I am not sorry. I am angry, and I'm tired. I haven't cried one time. I stopped crying years ago. I am numb. I've been watching the police murder people that look like me for years. Her brother was shot 7 times before his 3 young children and is now paralyzed from below the waist and recovering in a Milwaukee hospital. Amidst the warring arguments about reducing police budgets, don't we all have to ask why it is we pay for this? It is possible to think more deeply, is it not? It's possible to say no to current policing while saying yes to public security. It's possible to say no to current prisons while saying yes to community punishment. We just need to think independently. We just need to tell our story well. Now, I'm sad to share this with you, but I really think I must. But I read on Tuesday, which has become a powerful day for me. I'll tell you why in a moment. I read that on Tuesday, the president visited Kenosha against the objections, or over the objections of Wisconsin's governor, its lieutenant governor, and Kenosha's mayor. He did not go to Kenosha to meet with LaTetra Whitman. He did not go to Kenosha to meet with the members of the Blake family. In fact, while he was there, he failed to mention Jacob's name, even once. As an ethical community, we must take note of this. This gesture of negation has been going on for years. Dylan saw it. And it is what inspired him to ask, how many roads was the man walk down before you call him a man, before you call him by his rightful name? Jacob. A biblical name. We still have to sing this song, this 57-year-old song, lest we go numb, and we may go numb anyway. And because I feel this happening in me, this anger, this fatigue, this tearlessness, this numbness, and because we may feel this happening in us, this anger, this fatigue, this tearlessness, this numbness, we have to grieve together, march together, affirm our collective dignity together. We have to sing together in COVID-safe and brand new ways, because the things are not happening out there. The fault lines run through our very hearts. We are born of one another. There is no them, there is only us. There is no out there and no back then. There is only here and now. Live it, precious ones. Now, I'm broken today, and I share this with you freely, that something terrible has happened in my personal life. Dean Kerrigan, a friend of mine, a friend of spirit, a good and dear companion of the soul, a man I love and played music with, could not find his way forward anymore. Something closed within him and something shattered. Something died. And he made that real for himself and for everyone around him. For reasons I don't yet know and may never know or understand, he felt that he could no longer make it in this life. And so he ended his in the morning of the 2nd of September. That was Tuesday. That's why Tuesday is a powerful day for me. I had a couple of meetings on my schedule, a board check-in, and some writing to do. It was a beautiful day until I learned that my dear friend had died. The sky was blue, but I couldn't see it. I went numb, and I didn't cry for days. I reached out to Barbara Abraham. She's a member of the Committee on Ministry, my support and advisory group. I needed to share the news and to be present with a terrible thing. I needed her witness and companionship. In her grace, she agreed, and together we made a tiny piece of heaven in a 21-minute phone call. Thank you, Barbara. We walk as one. So I lost a friend. He's gone from me. This is a big change in life. It's not a minor course correction, it's a major breaking point. And I don't have insight here. I have only this moment to honor and to cherish and to grieve. I have only his memory to love. I will not stand apart from him, not now, not ever. I loved him as soon as I met him. I love him now, and I will love him always. He gave real gift to me, and only gift, in every action, no exceptions. It is an uncomfortable conversation to talk about his death, but I will find a way somehow. That's what we do. We somehow find a way. And I know that life has meaning. This is always clear to me. I don't always know what that meaning is. In fact, I rarely know, but that's not the point. It is enough to know that life has meaning without grasping for it. The meaning of life will flower over time. Every life has meaning. All of us matter, and matter exquisitely. There are no exceptions to the rule, no matter how callow we can be sometimes. I will miss my friend. I'm beginning to sing to him. I sing a song called Company by Rickie Lee Jones. She sings, I'll remember you too clearly, but I'll survive another day. Conversations to share when there's no one there. I imagine what you'll say. But I see you in another life now, baby, and I will free you in my dreams. But when I reach across the galaxy, I will miss your company. Life is fragile and precious. We should always remember that. Life is sacred and not meaningless. We have trouble remembering that sometimes, but life is sacred. It is the violence that takes life that is meaningless. So don't take life. Take life seriously. Take life passionately. Take life honestly, joyfully, compassionately, but don't take life. Don't defile that which is sacred. So what would be helpful now? What leads us through these sorrows in life? Perhaps it is the morning sun, daybreak, sunrise. I don't know now. The sorrow is so close. It will take me some time. All I can say now is that I love you all so fiercely. All I can say is that I'm willing to try to find the good way through by honoring Latetra Whitman, sister to Jacob Blake from Kenosha, Wisconsin. Jacob Blake. I say his name with power and the tradition of this free pulpit. I say his name to honor, to respect, and to uninvisibilize the sacredness of his life, which is the sacredness of all of our lives. Jacob Blake. I say his name because I choose not to live in a world in which leaders fail to do so in short-sighted indignation. I say his name because I am willing to try to return some of the beauty to this world. In closing, I will share that the last time I played music with Dean, we played a song of mine called Hope. Dean had forgotten the key and he asked me to remind him when we were on stage. Playfully, I refused. And Wendy started laughing. Wendy Langsner. She was singing and playing percussion with Dean and I. She was helping us to keep the light on. And Dean laughed too, and all of our laughter was the perfect introduction to the song called Hope. I didn't give him the key that day, but he was willing to try to find it. I will always remember that in him. I will miss you, friend. I'm mostly numb right now. I haven't cried much yet, but soon enough, my tearlessness will become fearlessness again, and I will love you fiercely and joyously, as the brother you will always be to me. But like Rickie Lee said, when I reach across the galaxy, and I will someday, I will miss your company. I love you, brother. May we rise and meet the morning time with every joy we have. And when joy seems lost, may we be willing to try to find it. Peace, beloved. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen.
Music is flowing through the trees. Glittering stars, they touch the leaves, glinting their joy. Oh,